The prophets of Baal had been screaming since sunrise. Their voices tore across Mount Carmel, hoarse and wild, but the sky above their altar remained empty and silent. Not a spark. Not a whisper. Nothing. 3.5 years earlier, the rain had stopped in Israel. Every riverbed cracked into dust. Every well ran dry. King Ahab and Queen Jezebel had turned the nation to Baal, the supposed god of storms and rain. And the Lord had answered with drought. Now the word of the Lord came to Elijah in the 3rd year of the famine. Go! Present yourself to Ahab, and I will send rain upon the earth. Elijah walked the parched roads toward the palace. Dust clung to his mantle. The sun scorched the dead fields around him. He found Obadiah, the palace administrator, searching the land for grass to keep the royal horses alive. Go tell your master that Elijah is here, the prophet said. Obadiah's face went pale. If I tell Ahab you are here, and then you disappear, he will kill me. I have hidden 100 prophets of the Lord in caves. I have fed them with bread and water, while Jezebel slaughtered the rest. As surely as the Lord lives, Elijah said, I will present myself to Ahab today. So Obadiah went, and Ahab came. The king strode toward Elijah with fury in his eyes. Is that you, you troubler of Israel? I have not troubled Israel, Elijah answered. You have. You and your father's house have abandoned the commandments of the Lord and followed the Baals. Then Elijah gave the command that would shake the nation. Summon all Israel to Mount Carmel. Bring the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asherah who eat at Jezebel's table. Days later, the people gathered. Thousands of Israelites covered the slopes of Mount Carmel. The Mediterranean Sea glittered in the distance. On one side stood Elijah, alone in his rough prophet's mantle. On the other side stood 450 priests of Baal in their ornate robes. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Elijah's voice rang across the mountain. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. If Baal is God, follow him. The crowd said nothing. Not a word. Thousands of people and no one spoke. I am the only prophet of the Lord left, Elijah continued. But Baal has 450 prophets. Bring 2 bulls. Let them choose one and prepare it on wood without fire. I will prepare the other. Then you call on your God, and I will call on the Lord. The God who answers by fire, he is God. The people answered with one voice. What you say is good. The prophets of Baal chose their bull. They cut it and laid it on the wood on their altar. Then they began to call out, O Baal, answer us. They called from morning until noon. They danced around the altar. They limped and shouted until their throats burned. But there was no voice, no answer, just the silence of an empty heaven. At noon, Elijah began to mock them. Shout louder. Surely he is a god. Perhaps he is deep in thought, or busy, or traveling. Maybe he is sleeping and must be awakened. So they shouted louder. They slashed themselves with swords and spears until wounds covered their bodies. The frenzy continued through the afternoon. They raved and cut themselves and screamed. Still nothing, no fire, no voice, no answer. When evening approached, Elijah told the people to come near. They gathered around him as he took 12 stones, one for each tribe of the sons of Jacob, and began to rebuild the altar of the Lord that had been torn down. He dug a trench around the altar. He arranged the wood and cut the bull into pieces and laid it on top. Then he turned to the servants standing nearby. Fill 4 large jars with water and pour it over the offering and the wood. Water splashed across the altar. It soaked the bull and the wood and the stones. Do it again. A third time. 12 jars of water drenched the altar. The trench overflowed. In a time of drought when water was worth more than gold, Elijah had made victory impossible by any human measure. Then Elijah stepped forward. The sun was low over the Mediterranean. He lifted his eyes toward heaven. Lord, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, let it be known today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant. Answer me, O Lord. Answer me so that this people may know that you, Lord, are God, and that you have turned their hearts back. Silence. The crowd held its breath. The prophets of Baal stood wounded and exhausted. Then the fire of the Lord fell. A column of flame ripped down from the sky and consumed the offering. It consumed the wood. It consumed the 12 stones. It consumed the dust. And it licked up every last drop of water in the trench. When the people saw it, they fell on their faces. The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God. The prophets of Baal were seized. Judgment fell swift and final at the brook Kishon below the mountain. Then Elijah said to Ahab, "Go, eat and drink, for there is the sound of the rushing of rain." Elijah climbed to the top of Mount Carmel. He crouched low with his face between his knees. "Go and look toward the sea," he told his servant. The servant climbed and looked. "There is nothing," he said. 7 times Elijah sent him back. On the 7th time, the servant called out, "A cloud as small as a man's hand is rising from the sea." Then the sky grew black with clouds. The wind rose, and rain poured down on the thirsty land. One man stood against 450, not because he was strong, but because the God he served was stronger. The question still echoes across the ages.